Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to start off with this, or continue with this article, coming soon, body scanners at JFK, Newark, LaGuardia. This is from Saturday, August 7th, 2010, from, what is this, an NBC New York affiliate. It says, full body scanners that have stirred controversy for producing virtually naked images of airline passengers are coming to airports near you the next month, The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey announced that the hotly debated machines will be installed at Newark's Liberty, John F. Kennedy, and LaGuardia International Airports in September. TSA officials contend that the technology allows security screeners to see non-metal objects like explosives that go undetected by existing metal detectors. And it says, in March of 2010, the agency started sending out 450 machines which were bought with funds from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Like that, stimulate the economy and increase Big Brother. It says 41 airports across the country already have the image technology installed at security checkpoints, according to the TSA. It says while the TSA calls the technology less invasive than a pat-down, the Washington-based Electronic Privacy Information Center is suing the Department of Homeland Security to stop the use of machines, charging that the scanners are unconstitutional. Body scanners produce detailed three-dimensional images of individuals, the group says on its website. Security experts have described the whole body scanners as the equivalent of a physically invasive strip search. And it says only passengers that are flagged for extra security screenings are asked to go and stand in the machines for imaging. Of course, I just remember reading about, what was it, in Arizona, where passengers were everybody was forced to go through those things. So, I mean, that's how it starts out. It's voluntary, and, you can go through it, it'll be faster and more convenient. And then, we're only going to do it, we're only going to make people that are, flagged do it. And then eventually everybody has to go through these things. Airport body scanner scandal erupts. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. It says just as Oakland became the last of the Bay Area's 3 airports to install full body scanners at the security checkpoints this week, a new scandal has erupted. The TSA has insisted all along that these machines cannot capture, store, or transmit images of travelers' naked bodies, but there's new evidence to show that the scanners can do just that. According to a CNET report, which I covered recently, in a video, another federal agency, the U.S. Marshal Service, admitted that it had actually stored over 30,000 images recorded by a full-body scanner used at the Florida courthouse. A watchdog group called the Electronic Privacy Information Center, or EPIC, obtained over 100 of the images and states on his website that, quote, the images which are routinely captured by the federal agency prove that body scanning devices store and record images of individuals stripped naked. The group has filed a lawsuit to suspend the deployment of body scanners at airports. Just like the war on terror and Iraq and Afghanistan, it was all based off what? Off false pretenses, which were 9/11, to go find weapons of mass destruction and find bin Laden. And then you come to learn that it's all a scam and there were no weapons of mass destruction, and Al-Qaeda is just a generic term for a network of young Muslims who are radicalized by the United States and intelligence agencies. And so the same people, Homeland Security, have Michael Chertoff, who's of the Chertoff Group, who has an invested interest to promote these body scanners. And then he did just that. And so right after the Christmas Day bomber, they started talking about these scanners coming out. So the whole point of the Christmas Day bomber was to get these scanners out into the airports, and that's what we have. And the messed up thing, if I remember correctly, was reading that these scanners wouldn't have even detected Abdul Muttalib, the Christmas Day bomber's explosives that he was carrying in his underpants. This next one from a Fox News affiliate. Thursday, Drum plans courtesy patrols of bars, restaurants. It says Fort Drum is going to start sending out 2-person courtesy patrols to local bars and restaurants several nights a week. The patrols will target fights, drinking, and driving and other misbehavior. Each courtesy patrol will consist of an officer and a senior non-commissioned officer. Several patrols will operate each Thursday through Sunday, 8 p.m. to 3 a.m., effective immediately. The patrols will be the lookout for things that don't emulate Army values, said Julie Quipernall, Fort Drum spokesman. That includes fighting and, quote, reminding soldiers that there are many, many alternatives to drinking and driving, Quipernall said. The patrols will stop soldiers from getting behind the wheel if they have had too much to drink, Quipernall said. They will not allow that situation to occur. However, if police are involved in patrols, they will not interfere but will offer assistance. You like that? Well, that was like with the snowstorms in Pennsylvania last year. We don't have the power to arrest, but they were arresting people. At least that's what the reports were coming up as. It says Fort Drum already does things like pay the taxi fare for soldiers who have had too much to drink and need to get back to post. This is from the PBJ Gazette, and it's titled The Clear Act. They're stealing it all, land, water, minerals, and the air we breathe. This is actually from August 5th, but I thought I would still cover it. Says that another assault on the American public is underway. This one will enlarge and increase the power of the Department of the Interior and the Bureau of Land Management to such a degree that none of us will be safe from these corrupted and unlawful corporate federal agencies operating under the public deception, a public service agency. And it says they are in fact duly authorized and chartered private corporations, which have long since ceased to function as public services. H.R. 3534, Consolidated Land, Energy, and Aquatic Resources Act of 2010, reported in House, will effectively render a greater amount of land as owned and controlled for profit by the federal government, along with minerals and water rights, to now be controlled by the federal government and enforced through the BLM and other newly created enforcement agencies. The Clear Act claims control of the oceans, Great Lakes, and by extension many other waterways and freshwater resources, mineral mining, solar, geothermal, and gas and oil conducted on land or in the oceans in, on, or near the continental United States. The bill passed the House on August 4th, 2010. All of this as a result of the BP oil gusher, like we didn't already have thousands of unused laws in the books to deal with. The author, right? This is something I've been covering since it was first reported. This is from the Associated Press, August 9th, 2010, and it's titled Russia U.S. Chase Jet and Hijack Drill. This is basically the Russians and the U.S., like I said before, as the fires are going on and they're cutting off exports of wheat, and they have the toxic barrels floating in their rivers. They're carrying out exercises of 9/11 scale. So it says in a historic first for Cold War adversaries, U.S., Canadian, and Russian military officers directed fighter jets and ground controllers to test how well they could track an international terrorist hijacking over the Pacific Ocean. A chartered American jet codenamed Fencing 1220 sent a mock distress signal shortly after taking off from Anchorage, Alaska on Sunday, triggering a pursuit by at least 7 fighters and a flurry of radio telephone calls between military and civilian officials on both sides of the Pacific. What is their goal? To ensure that two militaries still distrustful of each other can work effectively in tackling a terror threat that worries both nations. And I think the real terror threat is individuality. The war on terror is about the war on the individual. And I must always say that because that's how I feel about it. That's how I see it. It's a war on the individual. And if you are not a collectivist and you do not want a global government, you are a terrorist. It's as simple as that. This article is from the Associated Press, but is carried on by MSNBC, and it's titled New Al-Qaeda Leader Knows U.S. Well. This is from August 7th, 2010. It says a suspected Al-Qaeda operative who lived for more than 15 years in the U.S. has become chief of the terror network's global operations, the FBI says, marking the first time a leader so intimately familiar with American society has been placed in charge of planning attacks. Thank you everybody for checking this out, and take care.